شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to the event. It's about basically 9/11. It's a 14th day, inshallah, and well, it's a day that really changed the lives of every Muslim and non-Muslim, 10 years ago. And so basically, Sheikh is going to talk about today the responsibility of the Muslim community and how we should be approaching this day, and what has happened and what we can learn from it, and basically moving forward, what action we should be doing, inshallah, to be a greater part of the community. Like, so Sheikh Sami,
Thank you, brother. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa
May
barakatuh.
peace be upon you all, and welcome all of you, Muslims and non-Muslim, Baruch and non-Baruch person here. And Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين. اللهم يا ربنا إنا نسألك التوفيق والنجاح والفلاح في الدين والدنيا والآخرة. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم. ربنا واغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتجاوز عن خطيئاتنا يا رب العالمين. اللهم افتح بيننا وبين قومنا بالحق وأنت خير الفاتحين. أما بعد, my dear audience, may Allah the Most High bless you. And today is really very important topics from different perspectives. First of all, what I like to say, I'm going to talk less and give more time for your questions, for your comment, and for your concerns. I think that will be more practical, and I like all of you to share what you like to share with us. And for those who doesn't know, I'm the chaplain here, the Muslim chaplain here at Baruch College. It's good always to mention that in any advertisement, so people really know. Okay? Alhamdulillah. Not for my own advertisement, but sometimes the students, they like to know what the chaplain thinks or say about certain topics. And they might be more encouraged to attend and feel more comfortable to talk to the school chaplain rather than a stranger or someone coming from outside the school. I've been here for almost 5 to 6 years, alhamdulillah. Has been very wonderful experience for me to meet wonderful people, wonderful staff, wonderful college. And before to talk about the subjects, I would like to mention something brief about the religions. Contrary to what most people, Muslim and non-Muslim, unfortunately, think, religion of Islam come from the root word, in Arabic language. Every word you can trace it back to its own roots. Why that's so significant to know any word in the Arabic language? Because the root of the word itself would tell you about the meaning of it. So you think of a tree. So any word derived from certain root must revolve about the meaning of that root, maybe in different part of speech, to make it a verb, present, past, future, or passive, or active, or adjectives, a noun, all of that. So where the word Islam came from? Coming from the root was an Arabic called Sin, Lam, Mim, S-L-M. The root means peace. So that means every word comes from this root revolve about the meaning of peace. Why that's so important? Because we know the Holy Quran was revealed in Arabic language. Classical Arabic language, not today Arabic. And the prophetic hadith or tradition also, the communication, the interpretation, elaboration of the Holy Quran also was in Arabic language. So to understand the exact meaning of the Quran and the prophetic way, you have to master Arabic language, the classical Arabic language, and understand the social life of that time also. Because the language is a living in every community, like every individual. There's a change in English. If you try to read now Shakespeare, for example, you may have difficulty understand certain expression or certain term or certain vocabulary because they were used by the author at that time to have different meaning what nowadays could be understood. So same thing in language, in Arabic language. Because when non-Muslims, when non-Arab became Muslims, when people from Africa, Abyssinia for example, from the Roman land in the old day was north of Syria, where I am from, or from beyond the two rivers, where now we can call Iran, Pakistan, Afghanistan, even China, or from North Africa, some of them were Berber at the time, they have their own language, or from Spain, Andalusia. So all of that contribute to change the use of the language. Why that's so important again? Because when you read today a verse of the Quran or a holy hadith, if you're not expert on the language to begin with, you're going to make a mistake of understanding. You don't know that, you think you understand correctly. But in reality, the mistake of understanding coming from what? Not knowing the classical Arabic language. For example, just to be, the word wudu, you hear in some hadith, is recommended to make wudu before you eat food. What do you think that hadith means? To make wudu, the hadith before you eat meat or before you eat. People think wudu means to do the ablutions. See? But the wudu literally means to wash up. So in that hadith, the word wudu means the literal meaning. Because the word, beside knowing the classical meaning of the word, every Arabic word has 4 different understandings. First is the classical meaning. Second one called the customary meaning, the urf or the ada of the people. Another one called religious meaning. So the word wudu in religious meaning refer to the act of ablution, where it has a condition, integral part, recommended part by itself. On top of that, you have mustalah, mean terminology of the word itself. If you study theology, a word has its own meaning, mean defined by theologian. If you study fiqh, you have the word has its own meaning by fiqh standard. If you study Arabic language, grammar, for example, the word sunnah itself, you see, literally mean what? A way, a path. If you study usul al-fiqh, foundation of jurisprudence, the word sunnah mean refer to the second source of Islamic knowledge. If you study fiqh itself, the word sunnah mean what? Recommended act. If you do it, you get the reward, not obligatory. Mean if you don't do sunnah in your fasting or your salah and your fasting, your prayer is still valid, but you miss a reward of it because you miss recommended act called sunnah. So that's why it's very important to know that introduction about understanding the Arabic language. Why that's important also? Because a lot of wrong fatwa, a lot of wrong opinion now coming from misunderstanding this aspect. The Arabic language itself, the root of the word, are using the word in customary understanding. Well, that means, for example, if I say, we'll have meat for lunch today, are we?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But now, fish is a meat. But we say we're going to have meat for lunch, you don't think of a fish. Because the custom of people, when they say meat, they don't mean fish or seafood, or not even chicken. Even chicken is a meat. Fish is a meat. See? That called the urf, the customary usage of the word. See? So salam or Islam meaning literally to enter the state of peace. Coming from the root sin, lam, mean, salima. Okay. So what does that mean? When you add alif or hamza in the beginning of the word, an Arabic verb, you change the verb from trilateral verb like salima to make it four-letter verb with adding the asam in the beginning, meaning you enter into the state of the verb. So salima means what? To be safe, to be in peace. Aslama means to enter the state of safety and peace. Amina, to feel secure. So amana, to enter the state of security. Ahsana, hasuna means to be beautiful, to perfect something. Ihsan means ahsana, to enter the state of perfection. So saying that, we need to understand it's Islam came to deliver peace to humanity. And cannot achieve that unless, as an individual, you enter yourself into the state of peace with yourself, with the creators, with your neighbor, with the environment, with everything surrounding you. Even talking about the whole universe. Because one verse of the Quran says that it is He, God, Allah the Most High, who subjugated everything in earth and heaven for you. You here talking to humans, talking to them. Why? Because we are the only creation, as the Quran says, that we were giving the intellect to use our reasoning and use that ability to worship the Creator voluntarily. Unlike the rest of the creation, where they submit to their Lord and worship by submission, not by using their intellectual reasoning. That's why reasoning is very important in the religion, to the level that some theologians believe that if you have your intellect to be sound, because not all of us has a sound intellect, unfortunately, nowadays, but that's the condition, and you reach puberty age, you become accountable for your own belief and action in this life and the life after. Some scholars believe that's not enough. With the intellect, with reaching puberty age, you need to receive a messenger from God to tell you what you believe in as well. And that the majority of the theologians in Islamic history. Only minority of them believe that if you have sound intellect, you become obligated to search for the truth and to find who's the creator. And if you come to that conclusion, which any person with a sound intellect and sound reasoning, without being influenced by politics or cultural or tribalism or customary or all of that, come to conclusion on his own. Become a person accountable for their belief. So understanding that, Islam came to spread peace. That's very important to know. On top of that, there are very famous hadiths. We know that our beloved Prophet, may Allah give him peace and blessing, says that Afshu salam, spread peace. And in Arabic, another thing, when you mention a verb, usually a verb in Arabic has two types. One called fi'al lazim, which means in transactional verb doesn't need an object. When you say he went, ذهب الطالب, the student went. In Arabic, it's sufficient to stop here to call that complete sentence, complete verbal sentence. But certain verbs, they need an object. When you say the student study what? You need to say what he studied to understand the meaning of that. They say درس الطالب, درس what? درس درسه, درس, the student study his homework, he study his book. So when a verb in Arabic is supposed to have an object, but not mentioned, that means everything.